Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a true story. It's about my two fathers. One was my real dad, obviously, and the other dad was my best friend's father. One dad, my real dad, was a PhD in education, ultimately became the superintendent of education for the state of Hawaii where I grew up. My best friend's father was my rich dad. He was a man who started with virtually nothing, and by the time he passed on, he was one of the wealthiest men in Hawaii. So when you look at the hula girls and the palm trees and the white sand beaches and the hotels, well, he owned the land underneath those big hotels and things like that. So he passed on a massive fortune to his children. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a true story about what two fathers, one highly educated and one very rich, tell their sons, my best friend and I, about the subject of money. And in my book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is technically accurate about financial intelligence and financial literacy, in other words, I made the subject of finance and business so simple a kid could understand it, and it's written that way, because I was only 9 years old when my rich dad began to teach me. And of the 6 lessons my rich dad taught me, probably the most important one was to mind your own business. And I think that's what we're here to talk about today, is the importance of owning your own business, or why you should mind your own business. Because it was my poor dad, the school teacher, the PhD, he's always the one who said, you should go to school, get good grades, which I did, so you can get a safe, secure job. In other words, the whole programming, conditioning, brainwashing, whatever you want to call it, is to program us to become employees, to work in minding somebody else's business. So starting from the age of 9, my rich dad said, you get 2 different points of view out there. Here's my PhD dad who says I should become an employee. And here's my rich dad said, don't be an employee, become an employer. In other words, mind your own business. I think that's what we're here to talk to today, is the difference between the employee mentality versus business owner mentality. The way the wealthiest people get rich is via business. Like Thomas Edison founded a company called General Electric. Henry Ford founded a company called Ford Motor Company, if you realize. The richest man in the world today, his name is Bill Gates, and he built it off of nothing. He built it in the information age, and that's really what we're here to talk about, because never before has it been easier for an individual to become wealthy. You see, in the old days, in the industrial age, it took massive amounts of money, massive amounts of land, and massive amounts of people. But in the information age, never has it been easier, especially with the internet coming up. The problem is our school system is still programming us for what I call industrial age ideas versus information age ideas. And I think really that's the difference. And with I don't know if you believe in job security, but I never did. I only had a job for 4 years in my entire life, because my rich dad always taught me to build companies, build my businesses, and hire people, because it's a lot more secure that way. But these 401ks, I really questioned them. Some of them will be successful, a lot of them will not be successful. So if you're going to take financial security or financial freedom into your own consciousness, I don't think you can leave it up to somebody else. And to do that, you need to start minding your own business. The good news is, it's never been easier to do that. The reason for that is, as I said in my second book, was called the cash flow quadrant. The cash flow quadrant was about the 4 different people found in the world of business. The E, there's ES, the B, and the I. E stands for employee. S stands for self-employed or small business owner. B stands for business owner, and I stands for investor. The E and the S, although you can become very wealthy that way, that's probably the hardest way to get wealthy, simply because it requires you to work hard. A business owner is different. A business owner requires a system. And I think that's one of the hardest things for most people to kind of cotton on to. Bill Gates didn't get rich selling software. Bill Gates got rich building a system. I today have an oil company, a real estate company, etc., but I build systems. I have other people working for me. So the point I'm making here, which we're going to talk about, there is a vast difference. You can cover in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, between somebody who's been conditioned to think like an employee versus somebody who's been conditioned to think like a business owner. I think the hardest part for people to make the big shift is the difference between what we've been conditioned to think and what we need to think if we want to achieve. The quadrant was from where does your cash flow come from? Does it come as a W-2, an employee? Does it come because, a self-employed person is a person like my accountant, and an attorney is a self-employed. And they measure their revenue in the hours. I charge you $100 per hour. Or a salesperson will say, my commission is 6%. The problem is, it's them still physically working. A business owner and an investor, a business owner wants a system to work for them. and an investor wants their money to work for them. So we go to school, we become doctors, and most doctors become self-employed. The trouble is they have to work really hard. The reason you know you're self-employed is if you stop working, your income also stops, and that's the problem. The reason I can stop working is because my system continues to work for me. The point I'm making here is mentally, technically, in other words, there's different technical skills you need to learn. Like a doctor needs to know different technical skills than a plumber. Well, to be a business owner, you need different technical skills, but most important is emotional. You see, the thing here is that most people don't understand is I drill for oil. It's one of my companies, and real estate. And we just struck oil in Portugal, major fine. Everybody goes, oh, you must be rich now. Well, no. As a business owner, I'm not rich right now. You know, my rich dad used to say to me, success is expensive. In other words, I struck oil, I have to go raise another $10 million. My employees get paid. They get paid money. But I'm building an asset. I am building a system, and the system is what makes me really rich. I have not taken a penny out of that oil well, even though I've struck. I have to raise $10 more million to go drill more oil wells. And so the problem that most people don't understand is the idea of delayed gratification. We've been trained to expect a paycheck every 2 weeks. Or if I do an hour's worth of work for you, I want to get paid within 30 days or whatever it is. A business owner needs to think differently. They think longer term. They're thinking of becoming extremely wealthy. My rich dad used to say there's 3 positions people operate from. Number 1 is they work just to feel secure or to survive. And you can tell it by their words. And the most important thing is listen to a person's words. They say, I need to put food on the table and put a roof over my head. That's a survival mentality thinking. So if they get that covered, then they move to the next level, which is called comfort. Oh, I think I'll buy a bigger house, or I'll buy a lake house, or a new car. And where most people never make it is because they never get beyond the comfort level. You know, they may have $50,000, $100,000 income, $250,000. They think but that's just average middle class. The level above comfort is being rich. And if you can get rich by working hard, have a good life. The trouble is, you still have to work hard. To make it to be rich, and that's what I'm talking about, is you should have a system, i.e., that's what Ford did when he built Ford Motor Car, and Edison did when he built General Electric, and Gates did when he built Microsoft. That's how you get rich. Most people are very content being comfortable. And the thing we've talked about up front is the plan that you show and the plan that you talk to people about is a plan to become rich on. So I say up front, and you may not like what I say here, is this. If you just plan to be comfortable, or you just plan to be in the survival mode, this business opportunity will not work for you. If you just want to be comfortable, there's other plans. You know, get a job. You know, start a small business. The sad fact of the matter is our public has been conditioned to be poor. And the way you know that is my poor dad, the PhD, the school teacher. He always said, when my working days are over, my income will go down. And 90% of the U.S. population already makes the assumption that the day they retire, their income will go down. When I retire, my income will go down. And they're planning for it. That's a poor person's plan. It's not how much money you're making today, but what are you planning to be in the future? And most people, by their language, it's really a personal decision. Are you going to work all your life to be poor, or are you going to change a few things and work to be rich? And if you're working to be rich, I highly endorse this plan. If you want to be poor, or just work hard all your life and work until the day you die, which a lot of people plan on, this is probably not the plan for you. As I was saying, the reason I say success is expensive, not with your plan, but with my plan. See, I'll pay my employees money all day long, because to me, money is not that important. The asset is important. See, the business is important. Bill Gates didn't get rich with a paycheck. Bill Gates got to be the richest man in the world building a business. And that business is his asset. That is priceless. So what most people have been conditioned to do is they sell their time for money. But that's not really that valuable, especially today. What really is important is the asset, be it a business, be it a real estate, be it a stock or a bond. That's important. So unfortunately, most people have been conditioned to work for money. And you know, in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, lesson number 1 is the rich do not work for money. The rich learn to have money work for them, and one of the ways they learn to have it is to acquire assets. And that's the difference. So I work to build this oil company. I'm going to pay my employees very well, and they're very happy. I take no money because I know what's important. My rich dad told me what's important is the business. Now, can that business fail? Absolutely, yes. It is possible.